This is the ROG Phone 9 Pro edition, and let's go ahead and game. Hey guys, Thunder E here, and welcome to another gaming video. This time we have the ROG Phone 9 Pro in the house, and this phone is very beautiful, also reminiscent of Asus current styling that we've seen this year. Now, as you know, they have the ROG Phone 9, Phone 9 Pro, and Phone 9 Pro Edition. We have the Pro Edition here, which comes with the Aero Cooler, but side by side with ROG Phone 9, they do look similar, except the back is different with no animatrix display, but the camera housing is very similar. So let's take a closer look at this device. Just looking at the back, this thing looks really nice. You've got details of Republic of Gamers 09, of course the version. It says number 206, and then of course the camera sensor hump there, which has two 50 megapixels and one 5 megapixel macro lens. And then it says ROG at the lip of that. And when we look over at the display here, we have a 6.7-inch display. This display here is also 165 hertz, can go to 185 for certain games, 2500 nits in terms of brightness, and touch sampling rate of 720. So very smooth for that gaming experience. And of course, with every ROG phone, we've got, of course, our triggers at the very top, where it says ROG on the right-hand side, either the top of the button or the phone. And again, that is super customizable. I love the fact that with this, within the software, you can customize the way it actually functions. So there's more functionality as in single tap, double tap, swipe back and forth with that, which is great to see. Now, we have a headphone jack, which is fantastic. This also supports aptX lossless audio. We've also got support for high-res audio. USB port is towards the left-hand side, and then on the left side of the device is another USB port. As you know, the ROG phone always has two USB ports because one of those ports supports the Aero Cooler, which is great. Snaps on, cools your device, and drops the temperature. Also has some LED lights on there, and triggers as well, which are fully remappable for your gaming experience. You can use that to game quite effectively. Now, we have that built in there, which is all nice and good, but we flip back to that animatrix display. That display is 27 by 19, if you will. This is like a pixel dot display, and this is so cool. It has a bunch of features. Now, we know very well in the past you could customize it for stuff, and you can customize it to have your time. It will also have your battery life indicator there. It also will have like a camera or smiley face, things like that, which is very cool. But the other thing you can use this to is you can actually game on this. Yes, they do have 4 games you can actually select and play, and you flip your phone around and you use your triggers left and right to actually control while gaming. It is awesome. Again, it's something more to add to the gaming experience on a gaming phone, which is great. Now, you can customize that within the Anime Play software, but you can also do a lot of the customizations for the animatrix display in the AMOLED software. Now, this is the standard software for the ROG phone. It's got your console where you can change from dynamic to X mode, which is the highest performance mode, or durable mode to give you more battery life. And speaking of battery life, we have a 5800 milliamp battery in here, so pretty massive battery. Supports 65 watt charging, which is great to see. So I love that with this device, just absolutely gorgeous there. Now, when it comes to performance, we have, of course, the chip that everybody expects. You'll see here is the Snapdragon 8 Elite processor with 24 gigabytes of RAM and up to a terabyte of storage. That is impressive, massive, which means you can game and not have any kind of drawbacks. But what does that mean for benchmarks? Now, we've seen these benchmarks on different devices, but let's start off, of course, with our very favorite benchmark, which is Geekbench 6. So we go into Geekbench 6 and we look at single core scores, 3,201. And then multi-core scores are 10,253. It's over 9,000 and it is over 10,000. It is impressive right there, which is pretty good. Now we go to GPU scores. Here is a bit tame. I think 19,069. We've seen Dimensity grow over 20,000. So Snapdragon, we need to do some work here, but still quite impressive numbers overall. Then we move over to 3D Mark here, where we look at results. we can see, starting with Wildlife Extreme, we have 5,980, which is pretty good here. And then Solar Bay, 10,039. Again, impressive scores all around. And finally, the one that I think a lot of people have been waiting to see are the M2 scores, which is 2,896,050, which is impressive. High numbers, the highest I've seen. Now, Asus claims it could get to 3 million, which possibly can, but that's the first test I ran. And I like those numbers, but honestly, this is really impressive numbers here. Now, looking at Geekbench AI scores, we have a single precision score at 2929, half precision score at 2909, and a quantized score at 5325. So impressive numbers here. So what does that mean for us gaming wise? We know this thing can play any game we want to play. So we start off, of course, with our favorite games. Starting off with Call of Duty Mobile, 120 frames per second plays well. Going to the settings, you can see it's set for 120 frames. And this thing is flawless. Also, using the triggers is just a much more fluid experience for gaming and feels just very comprehensive. I do like that about it. Then going over to PUBG Mobile, same thing again with the settings and max settings for gameplay, 120 frames all the way through. This game is smooth, it's efficient. Touch sampling here works out very, very well. Now, moving over to Genshin Impact, doing the same thing we always do, long gameplay sessions, stays at a solid 60 frames per second. But here, the temperature started to rise up with Genshin Impact. That's something we noticed, and went to about 105 degrees. Now, Asus talked about new cooling here with the 360 biocabinet cooling, which is very impressive in terms of keeping those temperatures at about 105. I expected it to go much higher, but 105 is actually pretty good because maybe a year before, maybe got to like 110. But 105, I decided to go ahead and tap in that aero cooler because it comes with the system with the Pro Edition. And of course, customize the buttons. So two benefits here, temperature drop and then more customizable buttons. So I don't have to use the on-screen buttons. And again, it just improves your gameplay. But the cool thing is the temperature dropped from 105 to about 84 behind the device and about 90s right on the screen. So this is really good temperatures across the board. And that cooler really does a good job in dropping about 5 to 10 degrees, which is quite needed for long gameplay sessions. So this is really cool. And again, if you have a previous cooler, I'm sure it probably will work. Haven't tried it out with my previous version. It's in the office. I'm at home here recording, so you kind of get the idea. But that cooler is great. Finally, we get to play Warzone Mobile. Now, Warzone Mobile actually was able to install in the system, but I will warn you, installation process didn't seem fully functional, or at least fully fleshed out. Some of the scenery and background were kind of different from what I usually expect, which actually led to some very interesting benchmarks. Now, we ran this game at, of course, full settings. And what we got here was sometimes it peaked at 120 frames per second, and then it dropped down to 60. And then finally, we did roughly an average of about 45 frames per second. So which means that this game needs to be updated for this chipset. This is something that I saw with the Realme, and it kind of fully confirms it here with the ROG Phone 9 Pro edition. So that is something to take note. It can still play the game, but honestly, developers, please update this game for the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset. And when it comes to audio, this has some really great audio. We know it supports lossless audio, high-res audio. But what about the gaming experience? How does that sound? So listen to some great gaming audio and also some music off this device.
Get down, sniper! Cover me. Be advised, hostile inbound. Wing blade! Come get it.
Honestly, that is impressive. Really clean, loud speakers, great sound. The other thing to note is that this also does pass-through as well, which is great to see. I wish more devices will actually support this. So while you're gaming, you can either have pass-through, which means you don't use the battery and you use basically a power directly from the charger, that 65-watt charger, and you can game through, keeping your system nice and cool so it doesn't have to heat up, especially if you're doing a long gaming session. That's the best way. And smart section as well, which will either bounce between the charger and the battery depending on what situation you're going through. So that's also nice to see. Now, another thing I do like is the fact that the triggers are customizable for something like the camera. So you can go into camera settings and you can actually toggle the trigger on. So when you hold the camera this way in this horizontal fashion, you can use the trigger to actually take pictures, the right trigger, and that will do that for you quite effectively. So you do have more features with that. Now, with that camera, the 50 megapixel, what do we actually get with image quality? Is it improved? Because if you're gonna be buying a gaming phone, this is gonna be your main device, are we getting a better image experience? I mean, the camera photos are actually pretty good. I think they're quite solid, especially low light photos. I'm really impressed with what they've done here. I think daylight is pretty fine and standard. The front facing camera is 32 megapixels. So again, you're getting decent photos from there, but I think the overall camera package is improved. Video, not so much, but you get the idea. And I think at least a lot of gamers will like this experience. Okay, so what do I think about the ROG Phone 9 Pro? I think this device is absolutely solid. I love the form factor. I love the size. I think, yes, in black, it feels a little bit plain, but the animatrix behind really does a good job. And I do like the fact that they added some gaming features to that, which is a huge improvement. It's got a 5800 milliamp battery, which is a massive battery, 65-watt charging as well, which is also pretty nice. I do like the fan. I think the cooling fan this year, plus the new cooling system that we do have this year, really has done a good job in dropping temperatures for your gaming sessions. But you gotta also add the chipset as well, which we've talked about with the Snapdragon 8 Elite, which will help reduce, of course, temperatures and also give you longer gameplay sessions. So what do you guys think? Now, the ROG Phone 9 starts at $999 and goes all the way up to about $1,500 for the Pro Edition, which of course comes with the cooling fan. So leave your thoughts down below if you're looking to pick one up. Definitely go ahead and do that. But let me know your thoughts about the ROG Phone 9. Do you like the whole package? Do you like what you see here? And yes, this is Thunder E saying thank you and always enjoy your entertainment.